Hi everybody, this is Sarah with Sunflower Cottage Crochet. Welcome back to another great tutorial. Today I am going to go over how to do foundation stitch rows. So as you can see, I have a few swatches here. The top three are foundation stitch rows. So this is a foundation double crochet, this is a foundation half double, and this is a foundation single crochet. And in the same number of stitches, this is a regular chain up and then work back over the chain double crochet. This is the half double and this is the single crochet, and boy do single crochets love to curl up. It's a tight stitch compared to the other two. So a couple of differences I want to show you. For one, this is the chain up and then work back across it, double crochet. Now I did this with a lightweight number 3 DK yarn and a 6mm hook, and the reason I did that extreme was so that you could really see the stitch and it wouldn't be so tight that everything would curl up so bad. Could you imagine if I had done it with the correct hook size for that, which is what, 4mm? So yeah, it would have been really bad. So for this one I chained up 23 and then worked 21 other double crochet, excuse me, and then the chain 3 on the end that counts. For this one, this is the foundation double crochet. First things first though, one quick point out, your tails end up on the same end when you do the work across the chain. When you do a foundation, you have a tail on each end. This is the start, this is the end. Your tail ends up where you're going to turn your work and start working back across the row. So it still works out the way it needs to work out. Okay, so you can see minor differences here. Both of them have a chain up. Now this, try and get it further into the screen here. This chain up looks more like your standard rounded chain up on your working across the chain, so your chain 3. This chain up is a much straighter edge chain up. It's actually a chain of 4, but you end up with your chain 3. As you can see, this one is tighter but not super tight. Like, you could totally still stretch that. It is more uniform. Whereas this one is, it kind of does a little waviness. It's still pretty uniform. I worked in the back hump so that I could have the V stitches on the bottom and the top. This one automatically gives you really beautiful V stitching along the bottom and the top. There is a slight slant in this one, whereas this one is a little more straight up and down. It's really going to work out to personal preference. In my opinion, doing this for as many years as I have, and creating as many patterns and things as I have. Of course, I initially started out doing it this way because that's what we're all taught. I ended up liking this way better because I can actually, especially if I'm doing like a giant foundation row, say 190 some double crochets to start. When you're chaining, you lose count. It's kind of hard to count those chains, and if you're almost done and you lose count, oh boy, may as well just rip her out and start over. So much easier, less headache, right? But with this, you've already got your double crochets going, so it's easier to count those posts or the top V's. And what I end up doing a lot of times is I will just start creating and not even count. I'll just start making it. When I think, all right, let's see how far we are, I will count and I will get to a good number, like say 25 or 50 or every 10 stitches or whatever. And I will take a stitch marker and mark it and then tell myself, all right, this is 50 stitches. So from here I can count further. And then when I hit 100, I will take that stitch marker out and mark my 100th one, and so on. And so I'm not literally sitting there going 1, 2, 3, you know. I don't want to do that. I don't even want to do that when I'm making a chain. So honestly, working a foundation row like this with stitches instead of just a chain and then going back is a little less stressful. You don't have to sit there and count as much. So to do this, it does look normal, by the way, on the back side too. To do this, you're going to need any yarn and any hook. I am using a 4-weight yarn because it is the most standard yarn and it's the easiest to work with, the easiest to find. 4-weight is worsted medium 10-ply, okay? So to do that double, foundation double, like normal, slip knot on the hook, and then you're going to chain up 4, because what you're doing is creating your foundation chain and your first stitch at the same time. And normally in crochet, unless you like doing the standing double or alternate double crochet stitch at the beginning of each row, which is cool, you're going to end up doing a chain 3, turn, start doing your work like normal. So this is essentially your foundation chain and your chain 3 for that next row. So you're working 2 rows at the same time. So we chain 4, and then you're going to yarn over as if you're going to work a double crochet. And I'm going to assume when you're watching this that you already know how to do a double crochet. If you need help with that, we do have beginner videos. All right, moving on. Yarned over, and I'm going to go into the first stitch that I made. Just 1 loop is good, and pull up a loop. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through just 1 loop. That's my chain, my foundation chain, okay? And I'm going to pinch that chain because we're going to go into that spot for the next one. I don't want to lose it. You won't really lose it when you get to seeing where it is. You don't have to pinch anymore. But just to get you started, I go ahead and pinch that. And then I'm going to complete a double crochet like normal. So now I have 2 double crochets. And the way it's going to build is up like a ladder. So, spot pinched, I'm going to yarn over, and you can see there's like a little twisted V there because it's the first one. I am going to insert my hook right into that spot under those 2 V's, just like a normal stitch. And I'm going to pull up a loop. And then I'm going to do my chain 1 for my foundation chain, and then I'm going to do, a double crochet. Now I have 3. I have the chain 3 and 2 double crochets, right? So again, we're going to yarn over, find that V on the bottom, make sure you get both loops, and now you have 3 loops on the hook. You're going to chain 1 by pulling through the first loop only, pinch that, and make your double crochet. Okay, so again, where we pinched on the bottom there, you're just going to go right through those 2 loops and chain 1, and then work your double crochet as normal. And again, like I said, this is going to grow up like a ladder, but when you turn it this way, sorry for bumping the camera, it'll be the correct way. So I'm going to yarn over and insert, try to get that yarn out of the way, right into that V at the bottom, that chain stitch that we did. Okay, and then we're going to pull through 1 to make our chain. As you can see, there it is. Those are the 2 loops we're going to go under. Now you can see those 2 loops still right there, and finish that double crochet. Yarn over, go under that chain or into that chain, chain up, and complete a double crochet per normal. The more you do this, obviously, like anything, the better you get. So practice really does make perfect. And you can see in here, I'm not counting at all. So if I were like, okay, I need 20 stitches, I'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I'm halfway there. If I wanted to, I could put a stitch marker there and then count up another 10 from there and hit my 20. So when I hit 20 stitches, I'm done. I'm going to chain up and turn, or do an alternate double crochet and turn. So now you're probably going, okay, I've got my row, however many it calls for, the pattern calls for. Now what? Well, turn your work so that your double crochets are standing up the correct way. They were like this. Okay, this is the bottom edge. Just like a chain, it'll curl a little bit. This is the top edge, just like normal. So with your hook in place, turn it like this, so that your starting tail is down on the bottom right corner and your working yarn is up where it should be. Okay, so now here's how we would normally, as a beginner, you would chain up 3 from there and turn your work and skip that stitch, because this chain 3 counts as this stitch, and then start working into your double crochets just like normal. Now you remember I mentioned something about an alternate double crochet. So I am actually going to go ahead and show you that, because it's good to know. If you want to improve the appearance of your work, just to make it look more symmetrical, this is what you would do. You can, if you want to, just to kind of lock things in, chain 1 and then turn. But you don't have to. You can just literally turn and go right into that stitch and work a single crochet without chaining 1, and then you're going to chain 2. Yes, we still chained because you have to. I mean, there's another way to do it. It's really awkward. I don't like it. But this gives you a better, basically a table to work on, a foundation. That stitch is now over the hole that we wanted to fill. Otherwise, as you recall, it would have a gap, because that spot would no longer be filled. So again, I'll show you that chain 3, turn, and we're going to skip that one, so there's the hole, and work the next one, and you get this gap. Alternatively, which is why it's called an alternate DC, just turn your work and don't chain, insert into that very first stitch and work a single crochet, and then chain 2. That's your double. And then just work your doubles per normal across the row. Now you can see, yes, it still leans a little, but it isn't, there isn't a great big gap. Like, I have to really push these aside, and I can do that with these too, to get a gap. And when you work on top of this, it actually pulls it up straight, nice and straight. And so because you did a single crochet here, you filled that hole, you filled the gap. All right, so 2 in 1 there. All right, so now I'm just going to rip this out. And also, if you made a mistake, you can literally just rip out 1 stitch and then remake your stitch. Like, say I messed that up. Oh, okay, went too far. Just pull out 1 stitch and keep going. All right, so the half double, this is the standard foundation chain half double crochet. This is the front, this is the back. And also, the way you can tell, I'm going to try and zoom in here, is you have that 3rd loop right here that I love to work in and make the camel stitch. Different video. So front work, whoops, front of the work. All right, zoom back out. Now the foundation half double is this one. This is the same number of stitches. As you can see, it didn't alter it in any way. it does look a little looser. Um, it makes it easier to work into, if you're curious about that. Again, this one, both of your ends end up on the same, and on this one you have your starting one way down here and your ending one up here. So for this one, this is the back. I still have my third loop, just like normal. There's the chain up one. There's almost no difference. They're the same height, they're the same length, same number of stitches. With this one, because I don't like extra chains, I don't do a chain 2 turn half double in the next. I do a chain 1 and half double into that first stitch because, again, I don't like the gaps. So to do the foundation half double, get my yarn back over here. Also, if you're curious, this is a furls hook. This is my 6mm. Again, I'm working with a larger hook so that you guys can see the stitches and the loops a little better. Normally I just use what the yarn calls for, which for worsted can be 5 and 5.5. Okay, so to do a half double, there's two ways. You can chain up 3, so you have your chain, foundation chain, and your chain 2 to turn, or you can just chain up 1, which is what I do. Either way you do that, you're going to work into that first chain that you made. And if you choose to do the chain 3 versus chain 2 to start, this chain 2 will count as a stitch. Since I don't do that, I'm going to chain up 2 stitches for a chain 1 to turn and not count this as a stitch. So then I'm going to yarn over like I'm going to work a half double, and I'm going to go into that first stitch, that first chain, and pull up a loop. Now again, I got to make my foundation chain, so I'm going to chain up 1 and pinch, and then I'm going to work my half double like normal. Okay, so remember, this is not going to count. This is just your startup point. It disappears as you work, by the way, and as you weave in your ends just like normal, those things disappear. Alright, so we're going into that foundation bottom 2 loops, okay, and pull up a loop. Now then, yarn over and pull through the first loop for a chain up, and I pinch, and then half double. Do you know that this is also how you work an extended half double crochet? Kind of crazy, right? Alright, now we're going to go back into that foundation chain we made previously. Pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through the first, pinch, and pull through all 3 for your half double. So without explanation, just going to work the stitch a few times to give you an idea. Oops. Happens to the best of us. Okay. Whoops. See now, okay. I made a mistake. I went under all those and I shouldn't have. So you can literally just pull out of that, no panic, and fix it. Okay? Alright, I'm going to do one more, I think. Okay, now, here's what it looks like in worsted. Remember, these were DK, lightweight, number 3. Okay, so now we're ready to turn. Remember what I said? You build up like a ladder, but then this is your top row, where that working loop is your top. Okay? So for some people, they chain up 2, turn your work, skip this one, and start working into that one. And again, you get that slanted gap. I don't like it, never did. The only time I do chain up 2, and I still work into that second or that first stitch, is when I'm doing a camel, because I kind of need that height to be able to finagle things. and that is another video that we have, so be sure to check that out. So I'm going to chain 1 to get myself up to height, and just do a standing half double in that first stitch. No big deal. Alright, and then you're going to work right back across the row like normal. Roly-poly hook there. Alright, so as you can see, no gap, no leans, standing half double, normal looking foundation chain and row done together at the same time. Now, finally, the single crochet foundation row. Okay, I will show you the differences there real quick. So this one is the standard chain up and then work back across. And it loves to curl. Drives me batty. Drives me batty. Okay. And I used a bigger hook. So, this one, get my stuff together here. Whoop. All right. This is the foundation. Whoops, upside down. Single crochets, man. All right. This is the foundation one. And this one is. So, as you can see, there are some big differences between the single crochets on this one. If you are going for a strictly, like if you're doing graphgans and things, I actually still would recommend doing it this way because you're going to get that V that you're looking for. But if you're just having to chain up so many single crochets and work back across and then work a different stitch pattern and not changing colors and things, I would go ahead and use the foundation. There is a difference. The stitches are a little bit more uniform and bigger here, whereas your foundation, chain, and then work back across single crochets tend to be quite a bit smaller, and therefore it kind of throws your work off a little bit. Also, you can see this one is not trying to literally twist. It still kind of curls a little in this way, but that's the nature of a chain. This one just drives me nuts, so we're going to get rid of it. So this is actually the front side. The V's are just slanted. You can see it right there. It's just kind of slanted a little, just like the other ones were. And this is the back side. It looks normal. It's got that belt across underneath the V's on the top. Sorry, shadow. And it's got your normal looking bottom chain. Okay, so this is the front. And this is the back. It is stretchy, just like you kind of want it to be to work with. Alright, so how to do it? Just like normal, you're going to chain 2, and you're going to work into that first chain. And without yarning over, because we're working a single crochet, you're just going to insert and pull up a loop like you would to make a single crochet. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through 1 to chain, make that foundation chain, and then you're going to make a single crochet. So, and this one is harder to see because it's smaller. Hopefully you can see that. I went right under that chain that I made, pulling up a loop, and I'm going to pull through the first, and then I'm going to make my single. So again, you're still working 2 stitches at the same time. And you can see I've got that pretty little V legs. Whoops, yeah, I like making up bigger stitches. Okay, inserting into that chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop to make a chain up, pinch it there, work a single. Go in where you were pinching, grab both of those loops, and pull up a loop, yarn over, make your chain, pinch, and single crochet. So I'm going to do this a few more times in a more fluid motion. You're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. If you aren't doing foundation stitch rows, just keep trying. Practice. Try it anyway, because I think you'll like it better. For a while I went back and forth. And then I finally just gave up on the chain rows because they would make me angry. Okay, so remember what we said. You're going to build up like a ladder first, and then when you're getting ready to turn your work, this knotted end is your bottom side, bottom edge, and the working yarn is up on top. So when we're going to go chain up, you chain 1 and turn your work, and you're going to go right into that first open stitch and work your regular old single crochets. And you can see how easy it is to work into those instead of trying to like really push your hook like, I can't get it in there, you know. Because that first row of single crochets isn't so tight. Alright, so here's what it looks like after I've worked across the row. Roly-poly. So, zoom in a little. Yes, it does look a little different. It doesn't look super duper different, but slight. You still have that back side of your first row single crochet, and then your front side of the next row right here, with those little V legs. Personally, if I know that I'm going to make, say, a garment, I would do the foundation single crochet, because you know you're going to end up working into this nice bottom edge to sew up a side, and then it actually ends up tightening all of this up and making it very symmetrical and pretty. If I were making a Grafghan blanket, as I mentioned earlier, it probably would not do, but that's just me. I probably would not do a foundation single crochet. The other foundation stitches totally would do, no matter what. But for me, the single crochet is a little bit gappy. And so if the blanket has a picture, you know, there's a focal point on it, I would just do regular old chain up, single crochet across, and then, you know, to keep it very symmetrical looking. But again, if you're just doing a garment or a blanket that doesn't have color changes, this would be fine. This would actually be preferred, especially if you're going to be putting a border around, and it will tighten things up and make it look good and clean. And the sizing will be better, just because this row's stitches will be the same as this row's stitches, instead of the first row being tinier or shorter than the next row. So that's how you do those. I hope that this was helpful to you and not too confusing. Again, put these up here for you to see. I don't like those. Okay, and find my half double. Here we go. Alright, so these are the foundation row ones. I hope it was a helpful tutorial. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell to be notified anytime we make videos or go live. Go to our Facebook group at Sunflower Cottage Crochet Community, because when we hit 2,000 members, we're going to do a big giveaway, and I've already got one video up of some of the yarn, which is 10 skeins and hooks for that giveaway. We'll be celebrating hitting a milestone of members. So you're going to have to be here in order to win that, because we're going to use the YouTube random comment picker. Okay, that's it. See you guys later.